Hello and welcome back to part 5 of my tutorial. So basically, here and now we're going to be working on the rest of our tools up top here, or our utilities. Don't worry, this time around I'm perfectly sober. So let's get started, shall we? Our first tool here is the Hide Selected Objects tool. So if I select this object right here and I click on it, it's going to prompt me with the Viz groups. Actually, I'm sorry, let me zoom in. That way you can actually see what I just clicked on instead of a blur. I just clicked on this little red box here, and this window is what's going to pop up. Now, with this object here selected, we can place it in a pre-existing auto-generated viz group like world geometry, or we can create a new viz group, which is just call it one object or object one or whatever. You press OK, and you'll notice it went away. It's gone now. But if we scroll over to the right to our viz groups tab, right here you get your textures up here, and then your viz groups, and below that you have all this stuff is for like your different options for some of the tools, and we'll get on that stuff later. For now, we're going to focus on our viz groups. A viz group basically is a visual group. What that is basically it's assigned objects within your map or your hammer interface here, and those assigned objects can double from everything from world geometry to entities to point-based entities, which are like, decals, which we reviewed earlier. That's a point-based entity, or considered a point-based entity, is a decal. Then you have, same thing with your info player start. That's also a point-based entity. Actually, I think that is. I can't remember, but you get the basic idea. Like world geometry is obviously the brushes that we've created, and then there's entities, different types of entities. There's going to be like info nodes when you put info nodes down, and then NPCs themselves. All that stuff will fall under different visual categories, and you can turn them on and off through here. But if you want something specific to be turned on and off, you can use that hide tool to assign it a individual viz group. Now, when you click on object 1, you'll notice it came back. It's here again. So that will show or hide that. So if object 1 happened to be something large, or a group of props and brushes that they, although they may be, in our way, they're not all the same entity type. Like this is brushes here, and say we had some props and regular entities mixed in. Rather than hiding all of that stuff, you just select everything as one particular group of objects that you want to hide, and use the hide selected tool. Now, the other tool next to it is pretty simple. It's the hide unselected tool. It's the exact same fucking thing, except it hides everything that isn't selected and assigns it to whatever viz group you assign it to. And that's all that does. And the next three tools here, which are gray shaded right now because I haven't selected anything. Once I do, you'll see that that's the cut, copy, and paste. And those are self-explanatory. You should know what those are. If you don't, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's pretty obvious. And then you have your coordinate tool. Now let me explain how this works. Once you develop an actual map, obviously we can't compile and run this yet. It won't work. If you try, it's going to give you all kinds of errors. And we'll explain that when we move on to the next few videos where we're actually going to make a map. I'm going to show you how to compile your first little home, so to speak. Now, this coordinate tool, you can turn on and off coordinate state, and you can activate the coordinate tool by editing the coordinate bounds by clicking on this. Once you do that, you'll notice that editing coordinate bounds comes up, and I have this little thing here. When I stretch it out, you'll notice it's a big red box. Big red box. Now, say we want our map here. This is our map. Alright. Now, this over here, this little box, is annoying. It doesn't serve a purpose right now because all we want to do is test our hole, let's just say. Pretend this is the actual room. Pretend there wasn't all kinds of leaks, which we'll cover later on. But pretend this was like an actual room that you could run around in. And we wanted to render this room. but we didn't want to render in our compile excess rooms, which is a little block outside. We just want this. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to our side view here so I can stretch it. We're going to make sure that the area we want is well within the cordon zone. And once that's all set, we know we have what we want in our cordon zone. We're going to toggle the cordon state, and you'll notice that the other room disappeared. There's nothing there now. Although, like I said, that isn't a room. You can't compile this yet. I'll explain that in a bit. But that other brush disappeared because it's not within the cordon state. So now when I compile it, only the section inside this red box will compile, and the map will spawn you somewhere randomly inside. It also helps if you put an info player start, which I'll get to in another, once again, very shortly.